Many years ago. This was a time, before Instagram filters started, confusing people's destiny. A time before every smile had a price tag and before love, in so many places, turned into a cold, hard transaction. My wonderful family, please, before I go deeper into this touching story, kindly subscribe, like, and share. It helps this channel grow, and keeps the love for African stories shining bright. Thank you so much. I land in Anambra State, in the heart of the hustle. My story begins with a young man named Chris Udo. Chris was a contractor, but let's be honest, he was a struggling contractor. He was that guy you'd see in a niche, his shirt sticking to his back from the heat, running from one site to another, chasing payments, and dreaming of the day his big break would come. He had vision, he had ambition, but his bank account hadn't gotten the memo. He was a good man, but a hungry man. And in this life, every hustler needs an anchor. For Chris, that anchor was Joyce. Joyce was a young, beautiful lady from the village, but her beauty wasn't the loud, look-at-me type. It was in her smile, a smile so warm it could make you forget you hadn't eaten. She had that quiet strength, that, all will be well, spirit. Chris met her at a friend's traditional wedding, and from that moment, he knew. This was his wife. He didn't have money for a flashy wedding. There was no destination, no 9-tiered cake. They managed a small, humble ceremony in Joyce's village. They gathered just their closest family and friends under a few canopies. But oh, the joy! The joy was abundant, even if the food was not. My people, the jollof rice, ah! The jollof rice finished before the groom's cousins even arrived. Can you imagine? Chris's cousin Emeka showed up from Lagos, sweating and hungry, only to stare at the empty, shining bottom of the cooler. Chris and Joyce just laughed. They didn't care. They had each other. In the beginning, life was so good. They moved into a small, face me I face you, apartment. It was the kind of place where you could hear your neighbors sneeze, but it was their place. Life was a sweet, shared struggle. They would share one bottle of Fanta, plan their future on a notepad, and pray together every single night. Joyce was his biggest cheerleader. When Chris felt like giving up, when a client refused to pay, she would hold his hand and say, "Don't worry, Ina. God's time is coming. Your break will come." She wasn't just a wife, she was his prayer warrior, his financial manager, and his best friend. They were building a foundation, brick by painstaking brick. And then, finally, the break came. It started with one contract. A big one. A government road project. Suddenly, Chris Udo, the struggling contractor, was Engineer Udo. Then it was Chief Udo. And before they knew it, he was a too much billionaire. The kind of money that makes you forget your own village name. And my people, as the bank account grew, the man began to change. The Chris who used to share a Fanta was now the Chris who only drank imported bottled water. The Chris who used to hold Joyce's hand was now the Chris who held two phones, both ringing at the same time. Life became a blur. Answer calls every time, every day, Joyce would later tell her mother. It was one meeting to another. I'm in Abuja. I'm in Lagos. I'm flying to Dubai. He built them a mansion, a massive, echoing palace, but he was never home to live in it. The team was breaking. Chris was now the star, and Joyce was becoming a spectator. When a man's pocket is full and his heart is empty, the devil finds a tenant. And this tenant's name, oh, let's just say she was a tall, classic lady. We'll call her Vanessa. Vanessa was everything Joyce was not. She was loud. She was polished. She wore sharp, expensive perfume that announced her arrival 5 minutes before she appeared. Her nails were long. Her heels were high, and she had a special talent. She knew how to follow someone's husband. She was a professional. She didn't want a ring, she wanted access to the lifestyle, the cars, the money. Chris, who was still, deep down, the village boy, was dazzled by her. She spoke Lagos with a fake British accent. She made him feel sophisticated, powerful, like the big man he always wanted to be. The late nights got later. The business trips became more frequent. And the lies became a language. Chris would come home at 2 a.m., the smell of Vanessa's perfume clinging to his suit. "Ah, Joyce, you're still awake." This meeting with the Chinese investors, it was brutal. They don't sleep. He would be in the shower, and his phone, the special, second phone, would light up with messages. Joyce would see the name, Engineer Ben Site. But she knew, Engineer Ben didn't send heart emojis and "missing you" texts. The loneliness was a physical ache. Joyce was now the lonely queen of a massive, empty castle, waiting for a king who was dining in another woman's court. She found receipts for jewelry she never received, hotel bookings for cities he never mentioned. The man she married was disappearing. One weekend, heartbroken, Joyce packed a small bag and went to her village. She sat on the small stool in her mother's kitchen, the same kitchen where they had cooked for her wedding, and she wept. "Mama, I can't. He's a different man. He's lying. There is another woman." Her mother listened. She didn't interrupt. She just fanned the cooking fire. When Joyce was finished, her mother sighed. "My daughter," she said, her voice full of wisdom and sadness. "Did you think marriage was a soup you just eat and enjoy? No, marriage is work. Marriage is patience." She continued, "You don't cut down a tree just because one branch is sick. You pray. You wait. You remind the tree of its roots. A man with new money is like a child with a new toy. He will play until he gets tired. Don't leave your house for a stranger. You go back. You be the wife. You pray to God to change the situation." Joyce left her mother's house with a heavy heart. Was this patience, or was it foolishness? She didn't know. But she respected her parents, and she believed in her God. So, she went back. But she wasn't just a wife anymore, she became a warrior. She stopped crying over him and started praying for him. While Chris was in hotel rooms, Joyce was on her knees in their cold, massive bedroom. While he was popping champagne with Vanessa, Joyce was fasting, her tears hitting the floor as she prayed, "God, the man I married, the man who laughed when the jollof rice finished, bring him back to me. Open his eyes. Whatever is holding him, let it be broken." She was fighting for her home. She never left the marriage, but oh, she was tired. Then, one day, the day the ground shook, it happened. Chris was with Vanessa. Of course he was. He had told Joyce he was on a site inspection in Calabar. But he was in a plush, 5-star hotel apartment right there in the state. They were laughing, celebrating another deal he had just closed. And right in the middle of it all, as the user said, Chris fainted. He just stopped. One moment he was laughing, the next he clutched his chest, his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. He fell right there, on the bed, unconscious. Dead silent. Vanessa, my people, Vanessa was not a ride or die. She was a ride and hide. She saw Chris on that bed, still and silent, and she didn't see love, she saw her monthly allowance disappearing. She panicked. She started screaming, "Help! Help, oh, somebody help." She ran out into the hotel corridor. A security guard and a cleaner ran in. They saw this big man, this billionaire, lifeless on the bed. The scene was pure chaos. One man, who had watched too many American movies, shouted, "Call 911. Call 911. The other man, the security guard, hissed at him, "Ode. This is Nigeria. Who is 911? Call Okada. We need to go to hospital. Immediately." They bundled this billionaire, this Chief Chris Udo, onto the back of a wobbly Okada. Vanessa, wailing and shouting, climbed on behind him, and they sped off, weaving through the traffic, racing towards the hospital. They burst into the emergency room. "Doctor! Nurse! Help!" Chris was rushed inside. And this, my friends, is where Vanessa began her award-winning performance. She knew the drill. Possession is 9/10 of the law. She started wailing, tearing at her expensive weave. My husband must not die. Doctor, please, save my husband. I cannot live without him." The nurses, trying to get information, asked, "What is his name? Is he your husband?" Yes, he is my husband. Chief Chris Udo. "Oh, God, my life is over." She was crying, but her eyes were sharp, scanning. She was claiming her territory. In this modern age, news doesn't just travel fast, it teleports. The news sprang everywhere. A nurse in the ER recognized Chris. She quickly sent a WhatsApp message to her cousin. That cousin posted it on a blog. Within an hour, it was everywhere. Breaking. Anambra billionaire, Chief Chris Udo, slumps. Rushed to hospital by mystery woman claiming to be wife. And Joyce. Joyce was at home, in that empty mansion, trying to pray. Her phone buzzed. It was a link from her sister. She clicked it. She saw the headline. She saw the blurry picture. A man on a stretcher. And a woman, that woman. Vanessa, being consoled by a nurse. The caption read, "His loyal wife, pictured at the hospital." Joyce's blood ran cold. The patients snapped. Joyce didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood up, grabbed her car keys, and drove. She drove with a cold, clear focus she hadn't felt in years. She walked into the hospital reception. The place was buzzing. She went to the front desk. "Good afternoon. I am here to see my husband, Chris Udo." The nurse at the desk, already stressed, looked up. "Ah, madam. Please wait. His wife is already with him. She is very upset. We are trying to calm her down." Joyce looked at the nurse. "His what? His wife. She brought him in. She's in the private room with him. Just wait over there." The nurse pointed to a waiting area. Joyce said, "I am not going to wait." Joyce walked straight past the reception, down the hall to the private wing. She saw the room number. She pushed the door open. And there, my people, was the scene. Chris was on the bed, wires and tubes connected to him, still unconscious. And sitting in the chair beside him, holding his hand, dabbing her perfectly dry eyes, was Vanessa. Vanessa looked up, annoyed. "Excuse me, can't you see this is a private room?" "Security." The nurse who had followed Joyce in, huffing, said, "Madam, I told you to wait." Joyce ignored them both. She walked to the bed. She looked at Chris. Then she turned her eyes to Vanessa. The room was silent. "Nurse," Joyce said, her voice quiet but shaking with power. "Who is this woman?" The nurse was confused. She said she is his wife. Vanessa stood up. I am his wife. Who are you? His village sister. Joyce looked her up and down. I am Joyce Udo. I am his wife. The one he married in the village. The one whose jollof rice finished. I am the mother of his home. Now, I will ask you one time. Get out. Oh, the drama. The nurses didn't know who to believe. But just then, Chris's older brother, who Joyce had called on her way, burst in. He saw Vanessa and pointed. What is this prostitute doing here? Security. Remove this woman. Was over for Vanessa. She was dragged out, screaming curses. Some days later, Chris woke up. The first face he saw was Joyce's. She wasn't smiling or crying. She was sitting there, reading her Bible. He was weak, and for the first time in years, he was scared. He had seen the other side. The doctors discharged him. The ride home was the longest, most silent car ride of their lives. He tried to reach for her hand. She just moved it away. The mansion, when they arrived, felt as cold as a tomb. Chris, leaning on his brother, walked slowly to their master bedroom. When he got to the door, he stopped. Joyce was there, and by the door were two large, checkered bags. Gonna must go, bags. It wasn't her designer luggage. It was the same two bags she had used to pack her things when she first came to his, face me I face you, as a new bride. The symbolism was devastating. She was leaving with exactly what she came with. She was done. Joyce. Joyce, what is this? Chris's voice was a whisper. I am going to my father's house, she said, not looking at him. My mother told me to be patient. I have been patient. She told me to pray. I have finished my prayers. God has opened your eyes. Now you can see. I am going. Chris's heart, which was just starting to heal, felt like it was breaking all over again. He was losing her. He was losing everything. Joyce, please, he started. But just then, his phone, which his brother had brought, rang. It was Vanessa. Baby. Her voice chirped, oblivious. You're home. Thank God. I was so worried. I'm coming over right now. I know that village wife of yours is there, I'll help you chase her out. We can be together now, just like you promised. Chris looked at Vanessa's name on the screen. Then he looked at Joyce, standing by her bags, her face set, ready to walk out of his life forever. He looked at the woman who promised him everything, and the woman who had given him everything. The billionaire died in that moment, and the husband was reborn. Vanessa, he said, his voice cold. I don't know how you got this number. But if you ever call me again, I will have you arrested. It is over. Stay away from me and my wife. He hung up, pulled the SIM card out, and broke it in half. He turned to Joyce. He was still weak, but he didn't care. He slid off the bed and fell to his knees. The too much billionaire, the chief, was on the floor, holding the hem of his wife's dress. Please, he wept. Real, hot, snot running down his face tears. Please, Joyce. Me, don't go. I was a fool. I was blind. I was chasing shadows and I had the sun at home. God gave me a second chance at life. He knew I wasn't ready to face him because I had wronged you. He was crying, not like a big man, but like a lost boy. Don't leave me. I will not survive it. I will change. I swear, I will change. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the meetings. It's you. It was always you. Joyce looked down at him. She was silent for a long time. And in his broken sobs, she finally saw a glimpse of the man she married. The man who laughed about the jollof rice. Slowly, she took her hand off her suitcase. Finally, she came back to the house. My people, their love is now more than before. But it's a different kind of love. It's not the giggly, innocent love of their youth. It's a strong, tested, quiet love. A love built on the ashes of betrayal and the foundation of forgiveness. Chris changed. He sold the second phone. He cut off the friends who led him astray. His life is now God, his wife, and his business, in that order. My people, their love is now more than before. But it's a different kind of love. It's not the giggly, innocent love of their youth. It's a strong, tested, quiet love. A love built on the ashes of betrayal and the foundation of forgiveness. And there's one more thing. Anytime Joyce and Chris are going out, to a wedding, to church, anywhere, Chris will carry her handbag. Yes, you heard me. A whole billionaire, walking into an event, and he will be holding Joyce's little clutch bag. His friends, the other contractors, they laugh at him. They point and say, "Chris. What is this? You have become, woman rapper. This woman has used juju on you." And this, my friends, is the best part. Chris Udo, the too much billionaire, just smiles at them. A peaceful, happy smile. He looks at his friends, then he looks at his wife. He answers them, loud and clear, "Yes. You were right. I am a woman rapper. I am rapping the most precious thing that God ever gave me." When you have something valuable, you hold it tight. When you almost lose your treasure, you don't keep it carelessly again. He adjusts the handbag on his arm and says, "I am a proud, woman rapper. And I like it this way." The advice here is so deep. For everyone listening, Joyce's mother was right. Marriage is patience. But patience is not stupidity. Patience is not weakness. Joyce's patience was active, she was praying, she was fighting. But her patience had a purpose. It was waiting for God to act. And when she saw her moment, she was ready to leave. She respected herself enough to pack her bags. And for the men, for the Chris Udos of the world, don't wait until an Okada is rushing you to the hospital before you recognize the queen you have at home. Don't let a near-death experience be your eye-opener. The marriage was saved, not just because Joyce was patient, but because Chris was repentant. He was humble. He was willing to change. He was willing to become a woman rapper, for the woman who wrapped his home in prayer for all those years. That, my people, is the story. Let me know what you think in the comments. What did you learn from this? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more inspiring African tales. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continue sharing stories that touch hearts and change lives. Until next time, remember, love, faith, and courage are the greatest treasures you can ever have. God bless you all. Bye.